Whipple Family Misadventures Book 13, The Best and Most Beautiful Parts of Yourself, Chapter 1. Wade went to work on Monday absolutely brimming with excitement to tell Tom that the adoption papers had finally arrived. Unfortunately, Tom was out and then he got called out and it had to wait until much later in the day. Finally, when Wade arrived back at the station after lunch, he was pleased to see that Tom was there, going through some forms.
Guess what finally came in the mail?
The sheriff didn't look up.
Is it something I want to know about, or is this something that I'd rather not?
Wade rolled his eyes.
Of course it is. The adoption papers, they came...
That got Tom's attention.
Really? They did?
Yeah, on Saturday. I was starting to think that the state forgot or decided that it would be too difficult or something else.
If they came in less than 4 months, that's actually pretty fast. Okay, once you've finished and you're ready to send the forms in, make sure you make copies of every single one before you submit it. Maddie and I had to redo an entire section twice because something happened to it.
Wade nodded twice. The smile that came over Tom's face was infectious and very genuine.
That's still awesome, dude. I'm really happy for you guys. Did you tell the boys?
They know. I was way too excited not to tell them right away. They already had quite a discussion about what each other's middle name should be. I haven't made any decisions yet, just that it should be something that reflect their personalities.
Makes sense. Also, I know it's a while away and won't be happening for some time. But when the social worker comes, they're going to want to know why the two of them are not in school. It would probably look better on you if you actually had them doing that whenever the state sends someone out.
Wade froze.
They don't because they're alien kids.
Yeah, but still. They need to be around other kids their own age and be getting an education.
Wade sighed, as that was not something he wanted to think about.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Why not?
Because neither are that well socialized. And while both are doing better than they were a few months ago, I'm still just not sure if sending the two of them off with strangers all day would be good. And they're both pretty far behind other kids, their own age, education-wise.
Tom raised an eyebrow.
That's literally what school is for. They would get them caught up.
When Wade didn't answer, he continued to talk.
I mean, it's May right now and the school year is almost done. But you should really think about prepping them this summer to maybe go in the fall. And you wouldn't have to worry about a babysitter for them anymore. Or generally what they could be doing while you're here at work.
They like Melissa now.
Still, just something to think about.
Yeah, okay.
Wade said. Tom had a good point, but he still wasn't sure about releasing the two of them into the world, but maybe he was just feeling protective. He then quickly changed the subject.
Also, I'm also going to be looking for a therapist for the boys.
You really think that's necessary?
I do. Silver's had 2 nightmares this week about me and Shadow moving away but leaving him behind. And while I have very little idea of what's going on in Shadow's head, he's not very good at dealing with his own emotions or emotional regulation in general. But after the experience he had and how he bottles stuff up until he can't take it anymore, that's kinda the problem.
After a moment, Tom nodded.
What are you going to do about the whole not human thing?
That part, Wade was actively trying not to think about it.
I have no idea. I think I'll just set an appointment and then after it's already set up, say they're not human and hope no one thinks I'm mentally ill.
That made Tom snort.
Let me know how it goes, and if the therapist you find is good with alien hedgehogs, might send Sonic their way in the future.
Will do.
Wade said. If anyone had told him a year ago that he would be discussing putting his adopted alien sons into therapy at this time, he would never have believed them. Life was so weird sometimes. When he went back to his desk, he saw that Eric had just arrived to start his late shift.
Hi Wade, how are your hedgehog kids?
The boys are good.
Wade said, sitting back down at his own desk.
No more of them have shown up, have they?
Not that we know of.
Eric leaned on his elbow, putting his chin into his palm.
I was thinking about it. Is it slightly weird that several alien orphans came to this planet at different times, and all of them by accident, and none have families to go back to? What's that saying? Once is an accident, twice is coincidence, 3 times is a pattern.
That made Wade look up sharply.
What are you saying?
The other man just shrugged.
I don't know. I'm not making accusations or anything. Just wondering if there is more behind the reason why these kids showed up. than they originally said.
No chance of that.
Tom cut in, coming out of his office.
The first day that I knew him, I had to drive Sonic to San Francisco so he could get something. It was a 19-hour drive, and he talked for 18 of those hours, almost non-stop, about every little thought that has ever been in his head, because he didn't talk to people for a decade, and some of the stuff that he told me, I would have rather not known. Anyway, the point I was making was he didn't mention anything like that.
Next to him, Wade nodded.
I promise that none of them are that good enough liars to be playing double agents, with some nefarious scheme for this long. And none of them have done anything remotely suspicious. They really are just a bunch of lost kids who ended up on another planet.
Eric just shrugged.
Anyway,
Tom said, changing the subject.
when you take the files down to Helena tomorrow, make sure you stop off at the state police station and pick this up for me.
Tuning them out, Wade switched his attention over toward his computer, browsing on the internet to look for a therapist in their area. There wasn't one in Green Hills, but he found someone in a nearby town, and even better, he could afford it. He then spent some time drafting up an email. From his personal one, not his work one. He didn't need the therapist telling the state she thought he was unfit for work or something because he thought his kids were aliens. He wrote and deleted and wrote more and deleted until finally settled on something.
Hi, my name is Wade Whipple, and I'm adopting 2 boys, both aged 11, though they're not twins, by myself as a single parent. Both have had a few issues with abandonment and struggles with their biological family, and just generally adjusting to this new situation. I wanted to know about making an appointment with you for the 2 of them. I work during the day and would need it to be later in the afternoon if possible.
Wade stared at the message for a few minutes and then finally sent it before he could change his mind. Later that evening, Wade was finishing up cooking dinner, still deep in thought about what he had done. He did have to admit that he had been getting better at cooking ever since the boys came crashing into his life. And he had been eating a lot healthier, mostly because it was pretty hypocritical to feed them fresh fruits and vegetables and then only eat junk food himself.
Someone needs to come set the table.
He called out and then went back to what he was doing. It had been several hours since he sent that email and still hadn't heard back. It took every bit of self-control he had not to be glued to his phone, checking his email constantly for a reply. It probably wasn't a big deal and she was just busy. There wasn't any other reason why she wouldn't have answered him yet. It wasn't like she already knew that the kids he was bringing were not human. That was the part that was worrying him, telling her that the kids he would bring to her office were not human children. If he said it over email or over the phone, the therapist would probably think he was mentally unwell. But he also didn't want to shock her, showing up at her office with a couple of aliens. He had to tell her before the appointment, but then there would be a paper trail that his kids were aliens. But then again, he was already creating a paper trail with the adoption process, but none of those were saying that the boys were superpowered alien hedgehogs. Wade suddenly noticed that no hedgehogs came into the kitchen to get the items for setting the table.
Guys, someone come and start setting the table now, please. Dinner is literally almost ready.
The other issue was it wasn't like he could just drop them off and wait until the end of the appointment and hope for the best. Besides the fact that the therapist would probably have a lot of questions about the situation that the boys might not be able to answer, he also didn't think they would talk to her just like that. Silver might after he warmed up a bit. He was usually pretty shy at first and then did a lot better when he became more comfortable around people, but Shadow would take longer. And even with that, both would be pretty hesitant to talk about heavier subjects to a virtual stranger. Wade wanted to give them the privacy to be able to talk about anything they needed to, but also didn't want to pay a lot of money for the 2 of them to just sit there for an hour without speaking. But the therapist was the mental health professional. She would hopefully know how to deal with it and ensure the sessions were more than just long awkward silences. Speaking of silence, they could hear him unwrap a candy bar out in the garage, but they couldn't hear him calling for them. Wade put the bowl of food down on the counter, turned off the oven and walked out into the living room.
Boys.
He had a lecture all ready to go about ignoring him, but stopped short by what he saw.
What are you 2 doing?
Shadow was laying on his back in the middle of the living room, all 4 limbs in the air, holding up the reclining chair directly above him. Silver was reclining on the chair, holding his flip phone in one hand.
4 more minutes to go,
He said and then looked up.
Hi, Dad.
Get off of there.
Without even thinking about it, as soon as Silver was off the chair, Wade grabbed a hold of it to support most of the weight.
Shadow, come out.
Once the black hedgehog had moved, Wade set the heavy chair down carefully, so as not to mess up his back.
Why are you bench pressing the reclining chair? You could have dropped it on yourself.
Shadow looked baffled.
That's why I started with this. Silver wanted me to try the car.
Wade's eyes widened in horror as he could only imagine what would happen if Shadow tried to pick up his car. Even if he was strong enough to actually do it without hurting himself, putting it down without getting crushed under it was another story.
No, absolutely not. And that goes for all heavy things.
Why?
Because you could get hurt. Do you really think dropping an entire car on top of yourself won't injure you?
The darker hedgehog only shrugged. Silver wrinkled his nose.
But what if it doesn't hurt him? Then how will he know?
There was a tiny part of him that was now a bit curious, but he stamped that out. This had the potential to turn dangerous and expensive if he was wrong, and he didn't need that kind of situation on his hands.
Well, that's when you have to do a risk assessment and potentially to be crushed under an extremely heavy car. Just because you want to find out if you're strong enough to lift it is not worth all the potential pain and serious injury that could occur.
Shadow just shrugged again.
I don't think it would be that bad. I usually heal pretty fast.
No, that's not okay. Potentially dropping a car on top of yourself, even if you heal quickly from it, is not a good thing. Now come on, it's dinner time. Silver, please set the table.
He waited until that was done and both had their plates of food before he dove into what he wanted to talk about.
Do either of you know what a therapist is?
Silver and Shadow shook their heads. Wade had been expecting that. He would have been seriously surprised if either of them had known.
It's a person who learns about mental health so they can help other people with it. It's actually a job.
Slowly lowering his fork, Shadow frowned.
What's mental health?
It took a few moments of thinking before Wade was able to answer that.
Well, you know how a doctor takes care of physical health. Like if you get sick or hurt, mental health is dealing with your emotions and how you respond to things.
Okay.
The reason why I bring this up,
Wade said after he took a bite of his dinner,
is because I really think it would be helpful for the two of you to go see a therapist, especially after what just happened and the general trajectory of your guys' lives.
Both of their ears lowered at the same time. It almost looked like it had been planned.
What are we going to do when we see this therapist?
Talk about some of the trauma you both have been through.
Shadow looked away.
We have to go talk to a stranger?
It's not as if you have to tell her everything all at once. It can be a bit difficult opening up the first time, but it gets easier over time.
Silver's eyes widened.
More than once? Why does it have to be more than once?
Because therapy is usually more than one visit. It isn't a magic wand that just fixes everything. It takes time.
By this point, neither of them were eating anymore.
Do we have to?
Wade hated how he framed that question because there was no right way to answer. He didn't want it to seem like something they were literally being forced to do against their will, but also if he said that they didn't have to do, he was pretty sure neither would want to go.
I really want both of you guys to come with me when I go talk to her. Like I said, it would be helpful, and I'll be there the whole time. I'm not just throwing you two at a stranger for an hour and leaving.
The two of them looked at each other for a long moment.
Okay.
Silver said, his shoulders slumping as if resigned to the fact they would have to go.
Do you think we can go visit Amy soon?
Yeah, we can go see Amy soon.
Wade said, mostly relieved at how that went.
Shadow?
Fine.
Thank you guys.
After the boys were in bed, Wade was just doing some quick general tidying in the kitchen before he retired for the night when he noticed that his phone was blinking, indicating that he had received an email from the therapist.
Wade, I would love to meet with you and your soon-to-be adopted sons, but I don't have an available appointment at my office until 2 weeks from now. Is that all right?
He quickly responded.
Yes, that's fine. There's one other thing, because I don't want to scare you at the appointment. I know this sounds impossible, and as if I am mentally ill, but it's important that you know this. Neither of the boys are human. They're both from another planet, and I mean that very literally. I promise they're safe to be around, but that's a big factor in this. You'll see what I mean when you meet them.
Right after he sent it, he started to feel really anxious. But it wasn't like he could just show up with the two of them. She needed advanced warning. Being the first person on Earth to deal with the mental health of alien hedgehogs was a big deal. It couldn't be taken lightly. But also the more people that know, and especially when it was someone who was outside of their town, he got a response within 10 minutes.
Wade, I managed to find an opening in 3 days, on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Would this work for you? I think it's important to get with you and your sons as soon as we can, as we'll have a lot to go over.
Wade quickly sent an email back confirming that it would work and he'd be there with the boys, and then tried not to dwell on what the fast response and sudden opening could possibly mean.